one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First order of business is citizens' comment period. Any citizen wishing to speak, please rise, come forward, give us your name and address, and tell us what you want to tell us. Seeing no citizen rise, I'll close the citizens' comment period. Move on to approval of the regular meeting minutes of the Common Council meeting of July 7th. Any additions or corrections?
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We have no hearings, we have no organizational business, we have no letters and petitions. Move on to G1, which is consent agenda. Any motion for separate action? Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So move.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item G2 is the Senior Citizens Travel Program report. Mr. Ryan will not be here this evening. He's out of town and sends his regrets. He only had one trip. It's in your report. Is there a motion to receive and place on file?
So moved.
Second.
Sorry, Dan. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Similarly, the senior citizens have not met since March. Alderman Mayor, is a motion to receive and place on file?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 4 is the Community Development Block Grant Program. Is there a motion to authorize the Director of Administration to send letters in support similar to last year?
So move.
Second.
Congratulations, Peggy. Nice job. Thanks, Sandy. All those in favor, signify by
Aye.
saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Who is that? Mike, is that you rattling your microphone? Knock it off. Thank you. Item G5 is a resolution authorizing consent to collateral agreement and a development agreement for Knollwood Legacy Apartments. It's to the development agreement.
Motion to approve.
Alderman Mayor? It's been moved and... This is pro forma. Yes.
It's not pro forma, but staff. It's not pro forma, but staff has reviewed it, and the Director of Finance and Treasurer was included on the emails and the redrafting that I did with the council on the other side. So recommend is to approve.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. G6, page 45, is a resolution to accept an off-site water system for TID number 6. Alderman Nelson.
Motion to approve option A. Second.
All those,
What's the option?
it's just to approve the resolution. It's the Morrow way. Option A with no option B.
Correct. There is no option B, sir.
Yeah, Glenn, let's not do that anymore.
Yeah, Glenn.
You put an option A with no option B. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Once again, we have an option A with no option B. This is item G7 on page 47. This is to install underground drainage on 116th Street. We don't have a cost, but we don't know what it's going to be anyway, so
I'd like to make the motion to approve for option A as an atom.
as opposed to B.
Second.
Mr. City Attorney.
I would say subject or in such form and content as approved by the city attorney and city engineer.
So moved.
The standard form has been through the years to simply do a resolution as opposed to a separate vacation document.
All right.
And Southbrook Church, the entity,
No, wrong one. This is 116th Street drainage.
Oh. That's different notes.
This is G7. Page 47.
There are a number of issues, and I think on the questions and answers up and back with the city engineer, that there is a concern for future right-of-way freedom from flooding, and so that the instrument should be recorded so that it runs with the land, which requires a number of changes, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, the recommendation says pending legal assistance on finalizing the agreement. There you go. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. G8 on page 451, this is for you, Mr. City Attorney. It's a resolution to vacate a water main easement and to accept another water main easement. This is option A and option B, which should be just option A. And option B. Mr. City Attorney.
Option A, motion, add comma, in such form and content as approved by the city attorney and the city engineer.
That'll be my motion.
Is there a second to that motion? Second. This is option A only with the changes. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Mr. City Attorney.
With regard to the option B motion, again, comma, subject to corrections and/or technical changes by the city attorney and the city engineer.
I'll amend my motion.
Then that would be make the motion.
So then I'm gonna remake the motion, or that's?
No, this is another motion.
B, option B.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor of the motion, this is option B with the changes.
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. G9, page 67, an ordinance to amend ordinance 2019-2370.
Second.
This, all right, just so the public knows, this is extending a period of time for Polish Center. I will note that this was hurry up, hurry up, hurry up on the part of the applicant's representative. So we're happy to wait. Alderwoman Wilhelm.
I have a comment on the cancel.
Okay. All those in favor of 9 signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. G10, an ordinance to amend the provision, the code to provide for remote attendance at meetings. Mr. City Attorney, wave this hand first.
From Legal Services Department, review and preparation, the recommendation is to not approve this. Did checking around with regard to other municipalities and conferred with other municipal attorneys, and there's no one else out there that I'm aware of or that said other municipality or municipalities have adopted this permanent electronic participation in meetings. And within the packet, you have 2 open meetings, informed opinion from the Department of Justice, and the March 16 one essentially starts out with stating, in light of current public health concerns regarding COVID-19, and second last paragraph, to be clear, providing only remote access to an open meeting is not always permissible, as past DOJ guidance shows. And later on in that paragraph, it references the present circumstances and COVID-19, and concludes that paragraph with, ultimately, whether a meeting is, quote, reasonably accessible, close quote, is a factual question that must be determined on a case-by-case basis. Then the March 20th news for immediate release from the Department of Justice, again, starts out in light of current public health concerns regarding COVID-19. Next paragraph starts with conducting open meetings remotely can pose a number of technological and practical issues. Lower towards the bottom of page 1 of 2 of that release, notes that may be particularly burdensome or even infeasible for one or more individuals who would like to observe a meeting to do so remotely. And later on the next page states providing the public with an alternative telephone dial-in option for observing such a meeting so that lack of internet access is not a barrier to observing the meeting. So all things considered, and there have been weekly Wednesday afternoon conference calls with league municipal attorneys, and I could bring it up again tomorrow and bring it up again next week, but under all circumstances, and it's obviously up to the governing body, but my thought is we can put this subject over to the next meeting, but my current thought is, under current times, the thought would be to bring an extension of the declaration of emergency back to the next meeting. The current one in effect, which allows for all this remote access and participation, is till August 16, so there's time for further action at the August 4 meeting. And the IT director is looking at me in the first row in the audience, and he's nodding his head yes, and now it appears that he's smiling behind his mask.
I put this on because it's an issue we have to address, but I don't have a dog in this hunt because I'm at the meeting, so. So it's the pleasure of the council.
Mayor and absentee.
Alderman Wilhelm?
I guess I'm agreeing with the city attorney that the current emergency order, we have covered this. I'm more comfortable monitoring this and updating it as needed rather than making this permanent. I did receive an email that went to all the aldermen voicing significant opposition to this, saying that the writer felt it significantly disadvantages the elderly and persons with disabilities who are not capable of independent travel. Additionally, it's a disadvantage to residents who do not work a standard 9-to-5 job. Basically, if someone can't make it in, the part that it says that if you want to have citizen comment, you have to be in the room, is one of my main concerns. If we were to move forward with something like this, I would like the one section to add the allowing of the alderpersons to read into the comments for a citizen comment period, but I feel it would be better to follow the city attorney's advice and just postpone this and take this up with the August 4th or prior to the August 16th with emergency order. Thank you.
Oh, we need to be clear here because you just mentioned something that's absolutely incorrect. Well, incorrect is not the right term. Misunderstood.
What would that mean?
Regardless of anything we do here this evening, public comment is only accepted in person. So whether we allow aldermen to participate and board and commission members to participate via phone or other electronic methods, anyone who wishes to comment still must come and appear in person. And the city attorney.
And that's why I said that I would I would add that we allow all the persons that we leave comments into the record, so, that would eliminate that.
Well, but the writer, your comment implied that this changed that, and it does not. So, you know, here again, Alderwoman, again, I'm trying to make a point and I'm being interrupted. So that,
When you're done, I'll make my point. Thank you.
okay, I appreciate that, because somehow I get assaulted when it's apparent that, at any rate. Okay, so it's clear, it needs to be clear to people who write comments to us that we need to help them understand what's in front of them. And I'm not defending the ordinance at all. I'm just saying we need to be clear at what it means. Mr. City Attorney.
That provision is not in the ordinance. I understood Alderwoman Wilhelm to suggest that it be added, and in other municipality emergency declarations over the last 4 months, there are a number of them that either say no citizen present in person at the meeting, and citizen comments will be accepted if provided in writing X number of hours or whatever time prior to the meeting, and be read into the record or accepted for the record. So there's a number of those. So it could be added, but it's not in there right now, and I think that's what she was suggesting.
Alderwoman Wilhelm.
Yes, that is what I'm suggesting. I am aware of the current procedure and the policy that's presented in front of us. I think both of them should include the ability for citizens to give written comments to be read into the record under the current circumstances. And I cannot speak for what the person sent me. I don't have any control about what they wrote. If it's correct or not correct, I didn't actually even read the entire thing. So I was only letting everyone know that there was someone out there that sent an email to everyone because it was very late, and trying to make you aware of that objection about the current policy, the previous policy, or whatever the policy that they were not happy with what we were taking up this evening.
Anyone else?
I guess I would ask that when we come back for another emergency order, if we could consider allowing alderpersons to read citizens' comments they received into the record.
Okay, anybody else? Alderman Dandruff.
I'll just add to Alderwoman Wilhelm's comment in regards to the agreeance to look at postponing this item to the second meeting in August and waiting for clarification from the League of Attorneys to see if there's some clearer direction that they'd like to see municipalities to go in. And there's all kinds of issues that can occur with technology. And if we're going to mandate it and make it available, and what happens if it doesn't work? Then, like today, where it's delayed, and then we're handling issues of complaints. So to make a blanket statement, we're tying ourselves up. And I don't know if we necessarily want to do this at this time. So.
Alderman Barbara, and turn your mic on.
Was that the second meeting in August or the first meeting in August?
We have no motion.
We don't have, it was suggested to go second.
First,
First was
the
the
first?
correct, yeah, it was correct for the first one.
Oh, okay.
Do whatever you want.
Well then,
Is there a motion regarding this matter?
Table until the first meeting.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
aye.
Any opposed? Any opposed? Motion carries. Move on then to G11 on page 93. It's a non-participating letter to Wisconsin Department of Transportation for installation of sidewalks along Loomis Road. estimated at $466,000. Alderman Nelson.
I would just ask for a little clarification from Mr. Morrow before I make the motion, because are we good with this option A? Is that what I remember we had the meeting there, we had, a lot of back and forth with the state, and I understood there was some state questions that you handled. Are you comfortable with this, sir?
So Alderman, I believe you're confusing this with the item for G12 on Lover's Lane. This would be actually for Loomis. I don't know that you were part of this meeting, but we have met with DOT. We discussed, in fact, I brought this to Common Council once upon a time. We talked about possibly looking at both sides or just one side. I believe the preference was on one side.
Right.
This is a long section, 1.3 miles. If we were to tackle this by ourselves, it'd be a lot more expensive to do ourselves. I do anticipate that there will be a lot more pedestrian. If you think about Velo Village, there's going to be a lot of residents that live up there and cycling and running and those kinds of things. That's supposed to be the theme of the village. I anticipate that this will get used a lot now that we do have the ballpark open and so forth. So does that answer your question, or do you have another question? Okay.
No, that's fine.
I have a question.
Alderwoman Hanneman.
And I do support the idea of having a sidewalk along there. I think it's important, especially considering that that is ideally our city center, and we want to provide safe walking connections and all that stuff. I'm wondering though, the cost. If we were to take that sidewalk all the way up to 68th Street, connect it with the Oakleaf Trail, could that not be considered a trail connection and park impact fee money used for that?
So we can, if we were to call this a trail, it'd have to be wider than 5 feet. That is a possibility. We could do that. We could use park impact fees for a trail. I would suggest to you that taking up to Rawson, which is in the vicinity of the Oakleaf Trail with a bicycle, that could be considered a trail also. That's a good thought I had not thought of.
So that might be a great use for some of the park impact fee money that we need to spend, and this 466,000 would otherwise come out of our capital improvement.
That is a valid point. We have a lot more flexibility on trails, just trails in general that pay 71%.
Alderman Nelson, or Hanneman still has the floor.
No, I'll yield for the comment.
No, but well, to touch on Alderwoman Hanneman's, where does that 466 come out of then? What fund does it come out of? Did you clarify that?
So this would be in a future capital projects fund. So it would be 2024, 2025. We would have to budget that in the finances overall spending for capital projects. So
So if we were able then to go with this potential impact fees, would we have to widen it from 5 feet to 6 feet to make it work?
I believe we would, but with that might be maybe a legal question. We could verify it, but in my mind, that's, so for example, St. Martin's, that's why we made it 6 foot, so I call it a trail, so we could do that. It's very, as I understand, it's very clear they don't want sidewalks to be paid for out of the park impact fee monies, but if we could widen it to maybe a 6 foot, might be good enough that we could call it a trail. I'll have to find
Agreed.
out.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Well, Alderman Dandridge has had his hand up, and then Alderman Willem, and then I've got a point.
Engineer Morrow, is there also going to be bike striping on the road? And is this going to be wide enough to allow for that? Or then is that path going to be used for cyclists?
My understanding is that when they redo the road, it's more or less a fancy mill and fill. They don't plan to really widen and improve the roadway itself. It might be nicer to ride, but the accommodations, I believe, would be the same as what they are now.
Did I read in here then that it's going to have striping for cyclists?
I think you may be, again, I think that may be
I
in the
believe I
next,
did.
next council action item.
Oh, it's in here somewhere.
I believe it's for the next one regarding Lover's Lane.
Okay, so, I mean, you're an avid cyclist, and there's going to be a lot of cyclists that are going to be riding their bikes. And to go from Drexel on, we've got to get onto Loomis, and so it does interfere with that speed of traffic on Loomis. So I'm just edification, clarification. I mean, I have no problem, and Alderwoman Hanneman went in because that was my same thought. Can we utilize park impact fees in this scenario? So I think it's a good thing to investigate.
Yeah, I think
and-
that's an excellent thought. I think your direction tonight should be to tell me to modify it for a trail.
Okay,
So,
okay, no, thanks, I'll yield to the rest.
Alderman Wilhelm.
Was that a new change with 5 feet to 60? Because College Avenue walkway was 5. And we use park impact fees for a portion of it.
I'm not so sure I'd want to use College Avenue as a template for other projects, but we can investigate. I don't know.
Okay, I would really support that. That would take care of the impact fee issue for a while too. Maybe we could fund it up, ahead of time and meet all of our deadlines on that. Thank you.
A couple of things on this. First, did I promise someone else the floor? No?
No, I'm going to ask you, Mayor.
Thank you, Alderman. First of all, this is on the east side of the street, and Velo Village is on the west side, just to point that out. They're a long way away from this, access to this, depending on what happens with the future development.
There could be some dominoes.
So it'll be a pain for them to get to this because they're going to have to cross the Rawson Avenue Bridge, which really isn't set up for bicycle traffic at this point. So it's going to be an issue. On the plus side, the the Oakleaf Trail, I believe, is designated across the bridge as part of the trail. So that may help us. I do like the idea of using park impact fees for this, because any way we look at it, we will have to borrow for this.
Yes, sir.
And that's $500,000, guys.
Could I just add one additional comment, Mayor? Just to interject.
Sure,
just
Alderman
slightly.
Wilhelm.
Didn't portion of the rock have part of the
That's
review
correct.
of the oak leaf? So,
That's correct.
I mean, I think we can massage this thing to make it work.
That's correct. And the county should kick in some, but as we all know, they don't have any money. So, I'm not a big fan of this. This is a mile and a third of, not a lot of people around it, but, I'm not going to stand in the way of it either. But anyway. Okay, Alderman Mayor.
So taking up what you guys just discussed, this is going to be serving a TIF district. Why can't we pay for it with TIF finance?
The direct answer for that is, first of all, it wasn't in the project plan. And second of all, everybody and their brother's taking money out of that TIF to pay for stuff we need revenue in that TIF district, not more expenses.
That doesn't change the fact that it's where we should get the money from. It's going to be serving the TIF district, and we add things to the project. You just said we add things to the project all the time. I think it should be added to the TIF and paid for through the TIF district. Just my opinion.
Anyone else?
May I make any comments?
Alderman Hanneman.
Something that popped into my head at our meeting on July 7th, we had a concept review with the developer who wanted to build multifamily housing there along Loomis Road, south of the Pick and Save. And so I do wonder if somehow part of that couldn't be included as a part, if they were to come back with a planned development district. and how it would impact on timing. If we went ahead and put the sidewalk in there, would it have to be subsequently removed for the development and replaced? I don't know the answer to that, I'm just raising the question as far as timing is concerned.
That would be an issue. Mr. Moore.
So I guess I would say, and of course, it all depends on timing. But again, this project won't happen until 2024, 2025, I think is what I indicated. So if, say, the developer that approached Common Council at the last meeting were truly interested, I would anticipate that they would be underway, and that might be something we could require the developer, and then maybe in lieu of actually building it, he could help donate some cost to that project.
I think that might be a fine idea.
Is there a motion regarding this matter? Or has there been? Alderman Mayor?
Wants to make the motion.
Motion, no.
John?
I'll make the motion to move forward with the trail notification to the DOT with staff looking into the ability to use impact fees and or TIF funding.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Move on to item G12, which is Franklin preferences for DOT design of Lover's Lane from Rawson to College. Mr. City Engineer.
So this is the one that was referenced, I think, in the last item. This one has received a lot of comment and conversation. We had public meeting at the high school. This is a more extensive project that DOT is planning to go from Rawson to College Avenue. If you can imagine the mess, the project that Hell's Corners went through, it'll be something like that as it continues south. There are some issues that will be highly controversial, maybe. At least it will catch people's attentions by chance. So they need some answers from the city. And so if you have time, let's walk down through them. First question they have for Franklin: do we want crosswalks marked anywhere outside of the signal at Speedway? It is possible, if we anticipate a lot of back and forth pedestrian traffic, maybe we might want to do that. Staff does not recommend that that's probably needed nor warranted. The second thing that they're asking is, do we want
You wanna
ladders?
do this one at a time?
Sure.
There needs to be a crosswalk at the seminary.
At Seminary? Okay, at the Seminary.
Alderman Dandria.
Yes, you give me the crosswalk there, I would move make that motion.
Is there a second? Or do we
you
want
mean
to do it that way?
For the seminary?
Yeah.
I'll second it.
I don't. Does the council really care if we do motions?
No, we'll just make them all at once, okay?
We'll just make suggestions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
and-
Alderman Dandria.
Alderman Mayor, are you done?
Yeah, I'm done,
The cross-
I agree with that, whichever way we do it, it's gotta be there.
There's already a crosswalk at the Speedway. Because there's all kinds of people that walk,
At Drexel.
yeah, at Drexel, so,
Speedway, the road, like Menards.
oh, Speedway, the road.
Yes.
God. Yeah, that little section there that crosses Rawson.
They will include a crosswalk as part of the project, so the question is, do we want them at other locations in addition to the signal?
Alderman Mayor is more or Nelson is more familiar with that area, and he's given me a thumbs up, yes.
Yes.
Alderman Nelson.
No, I'm simply saying yes. And
Well, let's be clear about the location
Okay.
because we're
So-
saying Speedway and some of us automatically think Menards.
Okay. So I'm going to yield to Mr. Morrow first because I know what he's going to say.
Quick question, you say the seminary, are we talking about the area south of Rawson?
we're talking about Sacred Heart Monastery and Seminary.
That
and
is south of
college.
Rawson.
South,
That is outside the,
of Rawson.
that is outside the project limits.
then forget what Dan and I just said.
Okay. I'm a newbie here.
Do you,
Yeah, 5 years.
Mr. Morrow, do you mind just continuing to talk more about that the crosswalk? Because it's gonna lead into the traffic pattern stuff. So if you, I mean, I agree, we need to put more crosswalks exactly. We're gonna have a problem, as I'm foreseeing a problem with the changing of the traffic patterns as we discussed. But so if we were to put a crosswalk in exactly at the Speedway area, okay, which exact area are we talking about? I mean, to.
So Speedway, the Menards, it's called the Menards intersection. At the signal, when you have the stop bar where traffic is supposed to stop, in front of you would cross a crosswalk. So those crosswalks around that intersection would be included, is included in the project. So the question is, where else along the project would you want to have pedestrians crossing Lover's Lane?
In your engineering thoughts, given what's the most, I mean, I know there's got to be guidelines, because we've got a number of people, you got a very dense population, you got the multifamily unit housing, that they're going back and forth. I mean, are we required, or are we mandated to put a certain amount per area?
So, no, you're not mandated. I guess the question is, so if you lived in residential area, east or west of the road, and you wanted to go to, say, Menards or the strip center with the other stores, it's conceivable, there will be sidewalks as part of the project, those are included. You would get on a sidewalk and you would traverse north, and then if you wanted to cross the road, you would cross up there. I don't, given the, if you can imagine how much concern we had about the roundabout, I'm not sure I'm comfortable putting pedestrians in the crossing Lover's Lane anywhere in that section because of the configuration we're going to be putting cars into, where they're trying to watch cars, and we already get concerns about traffic speeds, and I think that would be dangerous.
So with that note, do I still have the floor, Mayor? With that note, where then could they cross safely? Because Menards is very busy, the strip center is very busy, and if they're gonna be, back and forth with Speedway, and then they've got that, they're adding, I mean, so where would you put, we have to have a crosswalk.
Well, but Menards, the intersection there, it is a busy intersection, but it's also a signalized intersection. So you hit the button and you wait for the flashing man to walk across.
And we're good with that,
I think that's sufficient, yes.
okay?
Is there a crosswalk at College?
I do not believe so. I would suggest to you, so for example, let's say I used to live at Plum Tree Apartments, which is just on the other side. So if you lived in there, you could actually walk to Lover's Lane, head south, and cross at the intersection, because I can't imagine most of Ewald's visitors come walking, although it'd be a good place to buy a car, right? So, but I would say the number of pedestrian traffics would be light trying to cross right there for that reason.
You're walking, you buy Holt's used cars right there on the corner.
There you go.
No, there's no space.
The new intersection?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, there's a new light there.
There is a light at College.
Yep.
So if there is a brand new light, then there would be a crosswalk, because they do have crosswalks for the signal light. I can check, but
All right, so we're racing through these, so the answer to number one is no.
Correct.
the second one is the ladder style crosswalks. For the crosswalks we do have, they are willing to put in just a basic bar. I will tell you that everywhere else in the city of Franklin, we upgrade ours, and we are willing to take this under our wing too, and have the nice ones. They're just a lot more visible for safety of pedestrians.
Okay.
They ask if we want our bicycle lanes marked, so they will mark the white line, but they are asking, do we want the extra bicycle, turn lane kinds of, things that show the little man on the bike. We recommend the upgrade if you're going to have a bicycle lane, but it's not necessary. They will put it in for us for free. We just have to maintain them in the future, minimal cost to the city.
I'd go with it.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
I like your recommendations. I mean, I
Okay.
keep going.
This next one is, do we want street lighting in the area? So it's important to point out that we have some monies available to upgrade things. We cannot use that pot of funds for actually purchasing normal lights, but if we purchase normal lights, we can upgrade them to something else. They indicate that if we were to light this entire segment, it would be $150,000, thereabouts. I guess the only thing I might back off on is, do you want it just for the commercial areas, or would you want that to continue all the way south to Rawson?
I'm a south to Rawson position on that.
Okay, go all the way to Rawson?
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Yeah, we're talking money here.
So there's $150,000.
So let's not do that one just by winking a nod. Let's do a motion and,
If you want a separate motion, Mayor?
yeah, we're
Okay.
talking money here.
Oh, no, I understand that, and I'm making my motion to move that lighting, and if you want to put the exact area
From College to Rawson.
from College
both
to
sides.
Rawson, it's just that busy. I'm
Okay.
making a motion for that.
So the motion is to make full lighting package from Rawson to College. Is there a
Yes.
second to that motion? At approximately 150 grand.
I'll second, but I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Alderman Dandria.
In the write-up, it shows that it's a 50-50 cost share. Is it
So-
150 or is it 75?
I stand corrected, so you read that correct. Our portion of this would be $75,000. I just saved you 75.
That seems cheap, Glenn.
150 is actually for the lighting system, but then they'll split it. So keep in mind, that is a standard plain Jane lighting system. Now, the question is, do we want to upgrade it to make it I want to call it the fancy system, like we did for 27th Street? I would suggest that it would be nice if they were to match what Hales Corners just did. Now, for the upgrade from the plain Jane to the fancy system, we can use the CSS funds, and we have $371,000 we can use for that.
Wait a minute, before you go upselling, you gotta get me past the 75 grand. That seems really cheap for that lighting.
$150,000 is the cost of the lighting, but the state will pay half, and we will pay half.
150 seems real cheap for that lighting.
That's the quote I was given from DOT. I can triple check.
Okay, but the motion is,
Question,
Alderman Wilhelm.
what is that, about a mile?
Rawson to College would be about a mile, I would guess.
And how many lights do you usually put in a mile section? How many light poles?
Probably
typically?
4.
That wasn't discussed. I don't know offhand the exact number.
Well, the reason I'm asking is, we can calculate approximately how many light poles and figure out if that cost seems reasonable. So isn't it usually about $25,000 of light?
Well, if you look at Rawson Avenue, there's, 700 lights on Rawson Avenue?
Well, that one was, we won't talk about that one, but, anyway, I was just wondering if you could find that out.
I can research that. I don't know that number offhand.
Thank you.
So, okay, the motion's on the floor for 75 grand. All those in favor of the motion to ask the state to include that for about 75 grand, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay,
Would you like to further ask that they upgrade it to the
Yes.
to the lights that Hales Corners put in?
At least to know a cost, that's, I'm gonna,
well, that would use CSS funds,
Yes,
which
sir.
are
We have an account of money. Yes.
free.
right,
CSS funds are, in quotation marks, free.
I'll agree with it.
That's my motion, yes.
That then.
All those in favor of using CSS funds for that purpose signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
So a sidewalk shared use path, the design currently has that in there, because if it did not have it in there, it would totally jeopardize the funding sources, and they may not be able to make it happen. So we do recommend that we ask for the sidewalk shared use paths, but that would require that also that we would have a maintenance agreement. So it would be installed for us at no cost, but we would have to take that in our inventory, so we would be fixing the crack and repairing it and potentially replace it if needs be.
Somehow Trans 75 rears its ugly head. Okay.
It's an ADA issue. So here's the last question that should take some, or may not take some conversation. Does Franklin want to use CSS funds? So we have just decided that we'd like to spend some funds on the decorative lighting. What other kinds of, I want to call them frills, would you like to see? I list several examples in there. They basically pay to make things nicer or to pay for additional, again, features or frills along the roadway. Do you have a preference of something you might like to see? I guess I asked Callie to, if she would think of anything, with the whole banner thing she's going through. She really didn't have any good ideas because she'd like to use existing light poles or the new light poles for the banners. But maybe something along those lines, or benches or something along those lines. What is your pleasure?
The available options are limited, however. Is that correct?
I wouldn't say they're limited. I list several options in there, and that's as an examples. So I'll read them here. Aesthetic railings, anti-graffiti coatings, bicycle pedestrian accommodations, aesthetic and recreational features on bridges, decorative fencing, decorative landscaping, decorative treatments on concrete pavement, curb and gutter treatments, bump outs, crosswalk, terrace pavers, planters, benches, kiosk, native prairie seating or native planting, noise barriers, aesthetic treatment and design and retaining walls, non-standard sidewalks, special signaling and signing, wildlife crossing, etc.
Mayor,
Alderman Wilhelm?
how about landscaping, trees, something to make it look a little less sparse over there?
I'm good with that.
Landscaping would be great. Keep in mind there's limited right of way, but I think wherever they can, it'd be nice to stick shrubs and trees and other plantings.
Alderman Nelson?
I agree with the trees.
Nah.
I just was agreeing with you with the trees, and if there could be a little insight of type of what type. We want to, it's exactly what Alderman Wilhelm said, it's sparse. I mean, it's never been sexy.
Yep.
They can do the Franklin banners. They can do a welcome to Franklin sign, but we're putting one out there anyway, as I recall.
We are.
Anything else on there? You got to be careful, because if you use CSS funds for decorative lighting, then now you got to maintain it, and if it's too fancy, then you're buying problems.
I guess I would ask Common Council if you think of something else, I can at least get a price, an estimate.
Well, but it's CSS money.
Correct, for CSS funds.
We're worried about what happens after you buy it, is what we're worried about.
They're yours to maintain.
Yeah. Okay, anything else on this issue?
So the big issue we were just now discussing is the, if you recall that there is a east frontage road. And so they did a little bit of redesign since the high school meeting. And so they've decided that they could have two-way traffic and skinny up the road. So they would prohibit parking on the road, but at least it would allow two-way parking. So if you recall the conversation when it came to Common Council was the thought that once we have some sort of sketches or plans, that we would survey the residents. This is that time. I would like to send out a survey. I've included a copy of it in the packet. And if you're okay with that, I can send that out and we can collect their input. And so you can make a decision to suggest to DOT, keep in mind it's really a suggestion on their part, but they'd like to know what our thoughts are. Would you like to survey that before you make a decision?
I'd like to make a motion for yes for that. Now, is that a separate motion or just a discussion? Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. It's a wise thing for them to do because their original plan would not have worked.
And the last thing is not really a decision, but I just want to make sure everyone understands that when we met at the high school, there is a concern that a couple of the cross streets, and I'm spacing the name of the streets, were not, so they're closing off the far northern one because it's in the way of the new turn lane to get into Menards. Further south, there's two intersections that you will no longer be able to exit a residential street and turn left. Whether you're going north or south, you won't be able to cross traffic and turn left. If you are traveling, you'll be able to get in that lane just the way it's configured. So they were going to do a traffic study, and the traffic study was going to tell them whether they, if the volumes might be low enough where they could maybe not do that. 2020 has been a very unusual year. They cannot use traffic studies to forecast anything for design because traffic is so out of whack and it's not anything this year. So they're hoping to try to do that this fall, so that decision is forthcoming.
Okay.
And if you make the decision based on the earlier nods of the heads, I think I can form that into something to go to the state.
Alderman Nelson.
So do you need now an ultimate motion here for option A and B? On the bottom there to move this whole thing
Yes, sir.
forward?
So option A, the difference are the street lights. You decided to do the entire project, not just the commercial. And then the CSS funds, you want to include landscaping/trees. Are we thinking tree planters might be good too, or are you just looking at trees on the side of the road?
I'm a big tree to do something.
Okay.
Big permanent
I'll see what they can fit.
non-ash tree.
Other than that, it's as written on the recommendation.
Okay, let's move on.
Did they vote?
That's my motion.
No, we did it all. We did it individually.
Okay.
So,
Well, what? Madam Clerk.
Well, you did it individually, except for
Whatever you want.
the other things like not including additionals. I mean, it was you skipped a couple things that were either inclusions or non-inclusions. So,
Whatever you want to do. Whatever you want.
well, I think you just need one.
Move to adopt option A with the
Changes.
changes approved by motion and referenced by the city engineer without having a motion earlier at this meeting.
so move.
Second. I'm a happy guy. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. G13 on 117 says
What about B?
there's no B. We're done.
Okay,
That was
in
already
there.
done. It was done by motion.
okay.
Says we've spent $206,805. Anything else, Peggy? Turn your mic on. Come on. Jeez. God, first meeting, she's already screwing up.
Okay, so just a little refresher, the money that we're getting from routes to recovery through the state fund is $585,000. So to date, we've spent $133,879, which is good news because that'll come right off of our overage.
Thank you very much. G14 is to authorize temporary help of the Finance Department. As you read your memo, our longtime accounting supervisor is having some medical work done, and we wish him well. And our accountant, Greg Bannock, is retiring, and we wish him well after many, many years of service. How many years has Greg been with us? A long time.
27, 28.
Yeah, long time. So as you see him in the halls before August 3rd, please wish him well. So we need some temporary help. So is there a motion authorizing engagement of temporary contract service to fill the county?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. G15, 2% annual wage adjustment. Do we need a presentation? Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second? All right. Peggy. All right, there's a second. Ms. Stino. Or Alderman Nelson. Let's do
I'll
Alderman
yield.
Nelson.
So I think I pretty much wrote everything in the recommendation.
Peggy, you want to pull that closer, I'm not sure.
If you wouldn't
Or-
mind switching to that other microphone that works much better.
So I did list it in all the details in the recommendation. This is by no means a normal year. However, I think what we have to all remember is how hard our staff works every day, not to mention when we've counted on them more than ever during the COVID experience. It will be a tight budget year in 2020. However, we're working very hard to mitigate that overage and come up with some options for council. And we feel pretty strongly that we're going to be able to come through 2020 with a strong financial plan and end the year on a good note.
Alderman Nelson.
Okay, so the first thing is, just to clarify, this is a straight 2%. Straight, is there any things attached to that 2%? Because this is, I got a couple calls on this, and I'm just kind of want to get some things cleared, because along with those calls came with the calls from the reassessments, where we're kind of whacking the citizens, including the ones that are in this room, obviously. And then now we're also looking to give the raises. It's a tough sell when there's people out there losing their jobs, losing sources of income. Ask now, which will be paying more in taxes for sure with the reassessments, they will. And now, if I could just get a little more clarification, if it's strictly a straight 2%, or what will this equate to?
Okay, so there's actually three parts to this. One of them is, I'm going to say, a non-monetary issue. That's the wage schedule changing. So that wage schedule, if this was approved, would be changed by 2%. Along with that, though, goes the individual 2% increases. The third part of it is a progress to market adjustment for some employees that are at certain positions in the market study. Back in end of 2015, there was a compensation system implemented. However, it really wasn't implemented. It was to be implemented over time. So those in the plan at that time that were at or above market rate, they got to stay there. The ones that were below the market rate had to understand that over time, over many years, they would be getting up to market. That's the third part of this, and probably the most important part.
And when we're talking about percentage for those raises, just on a ballpark, I mean, I understand there's the graph, but so we're talking a 2% across the board plus a market increase?
So the 2% across the board equals about 88,500, and the progress to market for those employees that are being paid less than market, that the classification compensation said should be paid market, is approximately 18,000.
And then we're going to talk. I'm sorry. Then we're also going to talk about the adage for the merit increases.
The merit piece I kind of left alone for now. We really don't have an equitable merit-based plan at this point.
Right.
So we're not asking for anything on that. That's the equivalent of approximately 36,000, 36,600.
Mm-hmm.
And we're just asking for that to be held at this point.
Okay.
Alderman Dandridge.
Peggy, I do, this did come to personnel, and I did have major concerns, Alderman Nelson, along your same line in regards to giving out these increases in light of everything that's happened. And my original vote was against it at personnel, okay? And I've rethought it, because this has been probably a month and a half since it's come now to the Common Council. And I'm going to let you know why I've rethought my decision on this. Number one is if we normally would have given these increases out, it would have been prior to all of this. Also, I know that this budget is already canned and it's been budgeted for. But I also know, and I made those additional comments in regards to going forward, the next budget is going to be lean. And it may not be up to par for what they were accustomed to. And so that's why, if anybody listens to the meeting and the personnel, they're going to see that I voted no. But I will support this time. But the budget discussions on wages and this is going to be very technical and precise in regards to moving forward for next year. Because there are a lot of businesses out there. Hey, there's job elimination. Absolutely. Okay? There are job furloughs. There are pay furloughs, no pay for a week. Yes. And we haven't implemented any of those. So, I mean, I'm sorry. Yes, everybody's crucial. But we also have to run a business properly as well. So, thank you, Peggy.
So again, this was budgeted. This would normally have been implemented a month ago, as a matter of course, actually. We held off so that we could have run this through the personnel, because personnel deserve to look at it. Just today, I got an email from, there's probably 15 municipalities on the email, asking who's going to do out of ordinary pay increases for their employees who worked during COVID. And my response was, we're not, because all of our employees worked through COVID as a standard employee practice, and our pay plan doesn't provide for any extraneous extra pay because they didn't work outside of their normal work conditions. They did their jobs, and they did their jobs without complaining, and they continued to work. This city hall, these employees, every employee in the city just kept going. Nobody stopped, nobody complained. So anybody that's out there that says we ought to cut their pay or they don't deserve a raise should have been here over the last 4 months. These people deserve this 2%. Anybody that says they don't, they can come and talk to me. Anybody who ties this to their assessment obviously doesn't know what they're talking about, especially if they're a real estate agent. You know who I'm talking about. You don't have to respond.
Well, I want to respond because, I mean, you're inferring that I have some sort of whatever correlation or connection. All I'm saying is when we are in a situation where our own residents some don't have a choice to go to work, some can't go to work because their jobs have been eliminated, some have furlough days, some have all these other things, and I appreciate what our people do. Of course I do. I'm also essential. I understand it. I get it. But I just know that we are up against a lot here, and I just want to make sure that we know that what we're getting into. So it's a straight 2%, which will equal 88.5, right?
Correct.
18,000 for the market rate adjustment for those that were being paid much under market,
Yep.
right? So
Correct.
it's those two amounts. And then what about item 4, the 33.9 for the police compression adjustment?
So that was done already in April of this year?
Good. Okay, so it's just the first two we're discussing then?
Correct.
88.5 and 18?
Correct.
Thank you.
So for those who are at home watching, who hear this constant drumbeat that the mayor's rude and interrupts, just remember that I was in the middle of a statement.
I apologize, Mayor.
Okay. It's okay, I don't, you know, you and I get along well, and I don't take offense at it, but, you know, it's important to note that happens all the time here. So, at any rate, I urge my council members to support your employees. It's a small price to pay. It's been budgeted. We have the money. We are working right now on next year's budget. You know, we are telling people that it's going to be a tough budget, because it is. But you'll recall, a year ago this time, I sat in this very chair. And what did I tell you? I told you we had a $1.6 million hole to fill, didn't I? Okay? And we walked away with a nice budget. We'll take care of it. Together, we will fix the problem, right? So I urge you to support support your employees. They work hard for you, and every citizen of this community. Alderman Barber.
I also am on the Personnel Committee, and I supported it and spoke in favor of it at the time, and I'm going to continue to support it for the sake of our employees who have been overdue, and I think it would send a wrong message. I think this is just a reinforcement for what they do every day for us.
Anyone else? Is there a motion regarding this matter?
Motion to adopt the 2020 annual market adjustment to the pay ranges of the compensation plan and the market adjustments to wage and salary rates, both by 2% along with the progress to market wage adjustment for non-rep employees, effective with the start of pay period, with the pay period of, are we using this date?
Well,
Actually, there's already a motion on
Oh, there was? Oh,
made by Alderman Barber, seconded
Oh,
by
cool.
Alderwoman Hanneman.
oh yeah, I guess it was in motion.
well, thanks for doing it anyway.
I just wanted you to keep reading for a while.
Yeah, okay. Well, I don't want to read July 17th on there.
Madam Clerk, let's do a roll call.
That
please.
is correct. Okay. Oh, okay, then let's vote.
Then
Alderman
what?
Dandria.
Aye.
Alderman Mayor. Alderwoman Wilhelm.
Aye.
Alderwoman Hanneman.
Aye.
Alderman Barber.
Aye.
Alderman Nelson.
Aye.
Thank you very much. 6 ayes, no noes, no absence, no abstentions, motion carries. H1, with all respect, I ask for the following to be separate action. Federation of Croatian Societies, Romies, Root River, and Root River. Alderman Nelson.
Okay, so what we did,
Unless you've got an action that,
yeah, I kind of want to, that's why we were right to the buzzer.
and the St. Paul's.
So, well, the first three, which the Croatian Societies, Romies, and Root River have, I'll start with the first one. Croatian Societies have withdrawn their permit application for now, and will contact the clerk for a future date proposal. I asked that Romies, they would be going on to the next meeting, and if the clerk's office could provide all those emails that he was given from all the different departments with all the questions, because he didn't have any of that. And Root River, for their two events, they have withdrawn their application at this time. And then for St. Paul's, we like to hold it over to the following council meeting. And then would you now like me to transition to the individuals? All right, I see a thumbs up. So number 1, Heather Borger was a no-show, so she is a hold for appearance. Rain is approved. Severino is approved. Going down to Damask is approved. Last one on the page, Duenhauer is approved with a letter. Page 2. Gehring is approved. Kozlowski is approved. Lacina is approved. Myers approved. Miller is a hold for appearance. Sean Moran approved. Pishek approved. Plantoon hold for appearance. Rodriguez hold for appearance. Sansonetti and Singh are approved. Soltis is a hold for 2 weeks for administrative information, and I guess I can put that in there for just for now, just hold for appearance. And Weber was approved, and that's it.
Is there a second? I'm sorry, Alderman Barber? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I'm sorry, Alderman Wilhelm, did you have something?
No, I'm fine.
Okay. Motion carries. Move on to item I, vouchers and payroll. Is there a motion to approve the following city vouchers with an ending date of July 16th, 2020, in the amount of $1,060,087.41, and payroll dated July 17th, 2020, amount of $417,636.10, and payments to the various payroll deductions in the amount of $238,688.36, plus city matching payments, an estimated payroll of July 31st, guessed at $416,000, and payments in the various payroll deductions guessed at $445,000, plus city matching payments.
So move.
Madam Clerk.
Alderman Nelson.
Aye.
Alderman Barber.
Aye.
Alderwoman Hanneman. Alderwoman Wilhelm. Alderman Mayor. Alderman Dandria.
Aye.
Motion carries, 6 ayes, no noes, no absence, no abstentions, or motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries, we are adjourned. See you, phone people.